Alyssa, I want you to guess. What appearance on the other 51 is this for you? What number?
I think it's 6.
7.
Whoa. Okay.
I know.
Okay.
By far and away, the number one, the highest number of guest appearances.
Wow. I can't believe I understood. I thought set. I was like 6. 6 seems high, but let's like overshoot it. 7. Oh my God.
Seventh time. We got to get to 9 so we can do the Ferris Bueller sound at the beginning.
9
And
times. Yes. Yes.
this is the other 51. I'm Brian, and this week my guest is writer Alysa Auriemma. So, in past podcasts, we have taken down Kylo Ren fans.
Yes.
We've taken out J.K. Rowling.
Yep.
And by we, I mean you, killed the notion of genre as a thing, just as a general concept. What do you got today? What are we taking down today?
We are taking down the need to be online at all times, I think.
Okay.
As an inhibitor of creative work.
Love it. Awesome. Well, it is awesome to see you again. Awesome to have you back on here as we restart here with the podcast. And so the last time we had you on here, let's back up. We had you on back in January of 22, right after your book came out. All Daughters Rise came out with self-publishing, and read it, loved it. It is not the genre I usually read, but it was such a fun book. I loved it so much. So it's in the past now, but what was that, the book came out in January 22. What was that experience like? And kind of looking back on it, what's it like for you now in hindsight?
It was really overwhelming. To have, I think the main moment that really got me was when I ordered a copy of it for myself. Because I published it independently, you don't get advanced copies. So I had to order a copy myself. And the way that it worked was you could, order it and it wouldn't be as, they give you a discount, which is great. So I ordered a copy, and that moment when I got it in the mail and I knew that it was the book because it said Amazon.com on it. And, obviously Amazon's not great, but it was the most affordable way I could publish this book. I'm looking at other options going forward, but for now it is the most economically sound option for me. But getting that book and opening up the paper and seeing the actual thing with my name on it and getting to open it and look at it and going to people's houses that I like, who I knew bought the book, going to people's houses and seeing that they had the book, it was like, wow, like literally seeing my book on like my fiance's mom's coffee table and being like, this is on someone's coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and having people comment and say that they loved it. And not even people that are friends of mine, because, friends, I'm sure that they're honest with me. And I had friends that were brutally honest about, well, here's, I really liked it, but here's all the things that you might want to think about for your next book, which there are friends where you are looking for that, be brutally honest with me, because it was such a DIY thing.
Sure.
But to watch it do as well as it did for the brief flickering moment of time that it did was so overwhelming, because I thought, honestly, that I was just going to kind of drop it onto Amazon and it was going to be one of those books that just, might do okay and then just go away and then just be kind of where it is. So to see that in the first week in new Kindle releases, it hit like number 5. I screenshotted. I would go on and just screenshot. It never hit number 1, which is fine. But the fact that it was on that best-selling new releases thing for any period of time, I was so overwhelmed by it because of so many years of trying to sell that book. And I mean,
mm-hmm.
So many years of trying to sell that book and being told not being told nobody's going to want to read it, but being told the market isn't good for a book like this right now. The market,
and that's the subtext to that. When they say the market isn't good enough, that's whatever they're saying. That's what you're hearing, because that's kind of what they're saying.
Yeah. And also the subtext of that is because it was a book about two women who are in love, and there's a lot of queer characters, and there's a non-binary character, and all these different things. More of a gender fluid character, but the way I have to interpret that is that nobody wants to read a sapphic story with all of this diversity in it, that it's not going to sell. And my perspective on it was, yes, I get bottom line wise, you have to, think about what's going to make you money. We live in a capitalist society. We have to think about those things. To have everybody telling me this is not something that people are going to want to read, or like not something that's going to sell. And honestly, yeah, I'm okay with it not selling. I mean, I kind of wanted it to sell well. I wanted it to do well. I wanted to see if I could make a little bit of money. I mean, who doesn't? Mm-hmm. But that is ultimately when I was really young, starting to write stuff just randomly and writing creatively. That really was never why. I didn't grow up thinking I want to make money. I grew up thinking I want to do something. I want to be creative. I want to write. I want to create things. And so to have people kind of going, no, we aren't going to take this, not because it's not good, but because we don't think it has any monetary value. I was like, well, screw you. Like, I'm not going to pay attention to that. And that's why I even made this. I mean, we talked about this on the last episode, but why I pivoted to self-publishing anyway, because I was like, I'm waiting for someone else to tell me that my work is of value. And I'm just going to make that I'm going to make that my reality. So to then have it do as well as it did, the petty part of me really wanted to screenshot it and send it to every agent that told me it wouldn't sell and be like, so what does that look like? Yeah. And it's so funny too, because there was all these arguments that like, oh, vampires aren't selling right now. Witches aren't selling right now. All these sorts of things, like 4 or 5 years ago when I was first selling it, because then it became about Hunger Games. Everybody wanted a dystopian thing. And then that got played out. And now we're back to witches and vampires and fae. Fae is the big thing right now because of Sarah J. Maas. And it became this, it's had this giant resurgence, but through this queer lens. So there is a part of me looking back that wishes I had waited like another couple of months, because I feel like it would have done better.
Right.
But I also don't regret that process of doing it myself, because I got to control, I'm a control freak. I got to control everything about it. And also it just really helped having people in my life telling me, yes, this person's going to say no, this person's going to say no, but the people that it's meant to reach and who are going to like it are going to like it. And so I had people, one of the things that I've seen people review it on for Goodreads and things like that are maybe they have issues with the storyline or, plot stuff, whatever. But the overwhelming thing that they love is that there's so much diversity in it. And ultimately that was my goal. I was just like, I had been reading like Court of Thorns and Roses and all these books, and they're great, but there's no diversity in them at all. I mean, there's racial diversity, but which is important, but there was no gender diversity. There was no sexual diversity or orientation diversity. And I was, and that's why I wrote the book. I had just finished reading those books and been like, this isn't gay enough. I need to like do something different with this. And, to have people in my corner that saw what I was doing and go, keep going. Someone's going to appreciate this. That also was, looking back, the best thing that I could have done. Because if it's like that one person that's in your corner just thinking like, no, you should be doing this, you just got to keep going. And like there were so many times where I was like, I hate this, and I feel like nobody's going to accept this, nobody's going to appreciate it. And my fiance would say like, you don't know that, like it just needs to be out there, and it just needs to be something that you get people's eyeballs on and then just watch. And so it's been really cool. It's still reaching new people, and
that's awesome.
It's been I mean, it definitely wasn't the best time business, like marketing wise for me to get off Twitter, but it was interesting to kind of see, like, I was worried that that was going to damage, you know, my overall kind of how people were getting to me. But really it just, people are still finding it. People are still
Right.
recommending it. It's still out there in some capacity. So yeah, I can't believe it's been over a year. Oh
I
my
know,
God.
right? It
It's
was the first book I
wow.
read. It was the first book I read in 2022. I went back on my Goodreads to check. It was how I started
Ah,
the year. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's the other thing. It showed up on people were sending me, like friends of mine were sending
yeah.
me their end of year Goodreads like thing.
Mhm.
And my book was on it. And to just be like, my book is on someone's Goodreads thing, that's crazy. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
So I want to get to kind of what comes next in that series and what you're working on next. But you had the Twitter thing, and I know that's the topic that you really wanted to talk about. So it's also interesting for the life of this podcast because we met on Twitter. Like
We did.
we started following each other on Twitter, and that's how this all started. And now you've been off Twitter for a while now, right?
Yeah, I started really trying to work my way off of it about a year ago. And
Okay.
but I've been off since I stopped updating, I think in like September, like in
Okay.
general. Like I made the announcement that I was going to leave. I think right after Elon Musk bought the company. And then my final day on the app, I think was like Halloween. And then, cause I was like, let's just give it, end of the month and then I'm done. But I had been working my way off of it for a while prior to that.
So had that working your way off of it, because I'm really interested in this. Did that predate Elon?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it did. Elon was the final nail
Yeah.
in things. Cause I was like, not only is this, for reasons we'll go into, not only am I trying to get off this website, I am now being pushed off of it by somebody whose business practices I really don't agree with and is going to run it into the ground. And for like a couple weeks after I left Twitter, I was going like, guys, it's not too late. Like jump ship. Cause I mean, I'm amazed it's still, the site is still breathing, to be honest.
I am too.
Um, yeah.
But now you log. Now it's weird because you're not on. So you log in now and you get this little like I think it's like a crypto bear in the
Oh, the
corner. Like the
little Doge.
yeah, I have no
Yep.
idea what that is.
I
No
logged
idea.
in. So I still visit Twitter to like go on certain people's accounts and stuff. Um just to see what people are up to. So I just noticed that little Doge icon. It used to be a meme, but now there's Dogecoin. So it is like a crypto thing.
Okay. Oh,
It used to be a meme where it was this dog that's like a little Shiba Inu, I think. And it says like it's the thing that's like much wow, so amazing. It's that
okay.
thing. So it popped up the other day when I was going on somebody's site and I went, why is Doge on? And I was like, oh my God. Like now it's just gross.
So walk me back through before Doge and Elon. God, that sounds like a terrible band. It'd be the worst band ever. But so why did you start wanting to kind of pull back from the site, just kind of in general for like creative purposes or whatever? Like what was that experience like for you?
So there was a couple different reasons. But overall, it was a gradual realization that it was not helping my mental health at all. It was, or even not even helping my mental health. It wasn't supporting any progress in my life at all. I mean, it was helping my work around the time that the book came out because I was able to promo it. But when it came to certain things, I would be up late into the night just doom scrolling and panicking about everything. Because Twitter isn't, and I've thought this for years before I even made the choice to move off of Twitter. At its best, Twitter can bring everybody together and become an aggregate of everybody coming together to address something. We've seen it so many times. Me Too, Black Lives Matter, all these things. It can be a very powerful tool for good. At its worst, Twitter is an aggregate of everybody's worst feeling on their worst day.
Mm-hmm.
So you put that together with someone like me who has OCD, and it's just a bad cocktail. And I found myself feeling like I was spinning out of control whenever I got on it. And it only got worse in certain moments, in certain times of the year. During the Final Four would get really bad, or during the tournament. And we don't really talk about like my dad or anything like that on here, but I would notice wanting to like pop off at people and getting stressed out because people were going online with these ridiculously wrong takes, thinking that they knew my family, thinking that they knew my dad specifically, or people that I know and love, and having these takes that are just factually wrong, but emotionally damaging. And there was a part of me that was that my response, as you know, it doesn't hit me as somebody that's going, well, you're factually wrong, and I like disagree with you. It's the reaction of somebody whose family is being discredited and his name is being dragged through the mud. And I react to it like a little kid who's like, don't talk about my daddy that way. It triggers that part of me, right? So my response is just be like, and I have no sense of impulse control. It is the worst impulse. It's not, yeah, what's the opposite of impulse control? It's impulse allower. I don't know. It's and I had all these conversations with my sister and with my fiance and with my, my brother and all these things. And the ultimate kind of thing that kept getting relayed back to me. My mom says this all the time. She always goes, why does everybody need to know everybody's thoughts about every single thing all the time? Like, my mom doesn't have any social media. She is just completely away from it. And my dad has tried and then immediately has decided it's the worst idea ever and then pivots away from it. So, and my fiance has, some form of social media. I have always kind of said, no, I need it for work. I need it for work. But what it came down to was, is the social media just becoming one more thing that is distracting me from getting work done and from doing what I need to do? And there was a couple different moments that preceded that decision. Things that I just didn't make the best decisions when it comes to my online activity and being online, my online persona and my life in general. And I realized that I almost took it as an experiment of what would happen if I pulled away and I didn't engage with everything all the time? What would happen if I didn't do that? And there was a moment where I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to know about anything else. I'm never going to know about anything ever again.
Right.
Like, I'm never going to find out anything. How am I going to be up to date on political stuff? Or even, I don't know, if a trailer drops for a movie, how am I going to know about it? And so I was thinking about it. And one day I was talking to my fiance. I may have been talking to somebody else about it. And I think you said it. You said, if you have an opinion or if you have a thought on something, text your sister, text me, text one of my best friends, like, just text them. So I have become so much more prolific at just blowing up my sister and my friends' text messages with things, because now that's like, I actually have to communicate with those people, which was a whole other level of it as well. But the whole information thing, I thought, okay, maybe I will still get the information that I need to get. It just, I have people in my life that are still very involved on social media. So if I need to know something, they will tell me. And for the first 2 or 3 days, it was awful, because I would wake up and the first thing I usually would do was go to my Twitter. And I remember thinking to myself, well, what do I do now with that whole time? Like, hours of my life opened up, Brian. I'm not kidding. So now what I do is, it's funny. It almost reminds me that you know John Mulaney, right?
Oh yeah.
That whole thing, I'm reminded of the part when he says, does everybody hate me or do I just need to go to sleep?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's that feeling of, do I really want to scream online to people for an hour or get all of this information at me? Or do I want to go take a nap? And the usually decision is, I'm going to go take a nap. And I take naps so much because I'm already so mentally taxed from my job and from all the things that I'm doing all day that I come home and I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to engage. I don't want to then go back online and be stimulated again. I don't want to do that. And it became, and then the other thing that I realized, and this is something that we talked about last night when we were setting this up, you were like, what do you want to name this episode? And I think I said something like, nobody cares about your online life, or I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. I realized that no one needs to know my business. And do I like sharing about my life and things like that? Yeah. I made I made part of my career online for like 10 years, just oversharing about every single moment of my life and my emotions. There were lots of things I kept private, but there were lots of things that I just was like word vomiting. And the last couple of years, I have realized that some things I can just keep to myself and share when I am ready to share. It doesn't need to be shared immediately. So the thing that really clinched all of it right before I got off Twitter was last year I ran the Hartford half marathon, and I told maybe a total of 8 or 9 people that I was doing it. I didn't tell online. I didn't tell, I'm still on Facebook. I didn't say anything on Facebook. I didn't say anything on Instagram. And I only people that knew about it were people in my life, and friends that are runners and were helping me. And getting to finish, because I wanted to keep it to myself. I wanted to keep something for myself. And crossing the finish line, I almost still didn't want to say anything online. I almost still didn't want to post anything because I was like, no, I want to keep this. I want to keep this for myself. But it was incredible getting to be like, not only did I do this thing today, I have done this. I have been training for this thing for 5 months. And you didn't see all of the days where I woke up at like 5 a.m. and went and ran 10 miles. And then there was one day where Mike was just getting out of bed and I came up the stairs and I'd run 10 miles and I just laid down in the middle of our bedroom floor. And he was like, are you okay? And I said, this is my home now. I sleep, I live here now. And he was like, you got to get up at some point. And I was like, nope. Like, we got to shower. And I was like, I'm not showering. I stay here. I stay here. So, and there were moments like that, like little funny things that happened during my training that I was like, oh man, I kind of want to tell people about this. But then I was like, no, I don't want to. I should have written it down anyway. Like, that's the other thing. Like,
yeah.
The one thing I do miss about Twitter is I don't write anything down anymore. So I'm not like, I'll have funny thoughts and then I'll go like, crap. I didn't say, but you know what? I'll end up texting it to somebody. Like I'll text my sister. The only times that it's been hard have been during like the tournament time when people people go off online and say stupid stuff. And I want very badly to snap back at them and be
right.
Like, let me call you out. And I have to be like, no, I can't. Because it's not worth it.
Right.
So that's been the hardest part. The last couple of weeks have been like,
yeah.
There'll be times where like Michael come home and I'll be like, people are being so mean, but I can't say anything. And it's just like, I gotta keep it to myself. So
there is such awesome power when you keep stuff to yourself or you don't share it. Like it almost makes it a little more valuable a lot of
yeah.
times. And it's funny you mentioned texting, your fiance and your sister and your friends, because I have a friend of mine who covers the NFL, and the one time I do not go on Twitter is during Bills games because Bill's Twitter
Oh,
drives me crazy. So I will text him just my string of thoughts, and he'll write me back at midnight like, "Sorry, I missed you." I'm like, "No, you're just my vent. I don't tweet. I just tweet all the stuff I would tweet about the game. I tweet to you.
oh
I
yeah.
text to you. So that's fun. So I'm curious too. Did this being off, and I know you're still active on Instagram and you have a writing account on there. I'm curious about that experience, and I'm curious about if freeing up not being consumed online mentally, that does that create more space for creative work?
Um, yeah. So yeah, I have a writing account on Instagram that I made last year because when I started transitioning over to not being on Twitter anymore, I thought, well, I still have to make some sort of account. And I have two. So I have two accounts on Twitter. One's my personal account. So if you go and look for my name on Twitter, you'll find me, but it's my personal account. So if you go to follow me on that, just in general to anyone, if you go to follow me on that, if I don't know you, I'm probably not going to accept your follow. There's a couple of exceptions, like people that I know follow me on Twitter for like a decade that I built a relationship with. I'm like, yeah, you can come in.
You mean on it, follow on Instagram? You have two accounts on Instagram.
On Insta, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's my regular account. And honestly, that's not even like my personal account's just like extra photos of like the sunset and like my food and like, I don't know, random stuff. So the author account is primarily going to be for similar stuff. Like there's little personal things I've thrown in more personal things here and there because there is that feeling of, well, if I don't mention who I am, then how are the people on Twitter that followed me for so many years going to be able to find me on an account where they can see? So I like put on a photo, like when it was my dad's birthday, I put on a photo of my dad, and a couple people did find me from that. So that balance has been really interesting. I am very bad at keeping it updated because I just forget. I just completely forget. And that was the other thing too. So I made the decision to change my my writing name or my pen name simply to keep a little bit of a separation. And also because I want to, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying about what's next. I'm pivoting, I'm not pivoting. I am working on some more adult based rom-com novels. And that is, it's just a marketing thing. So I like the way it sounds. And Ali Marcy, like Marcy is my middle name, Marciella, which was my grandmother's name, and she recently passed away. And I've gone by that. I've gone by Ali Marciella other times in my life. So it's both making a name for myself and also honoring her. So in terms of whether or not it's opened up time, I wish I could say that it did, but I'm also such a procrastinator in general. So now it's unfortunate because I've kind of swapped out the Twitter, the time I've spent on Twitter. Now I just listen to like podcasts, or I watch YouTube videos, or I knit. Like you know what it has done actually? It's freed up some more time for me to not really do anything. It's freed up the time to do nothing. And when I need that little bit of time to do nothing. There are times where I do nothing and then I turn into kind of a lump and I don't do anything at all.
Same.
Yeah, I was on spring break a couple weeks ago and I slept so much the first couple days and I felt bad. And I thought, no, I need this. I needed this break. But then we get 2 weeks because it's private school. The second week rolls around And I'm like, okay, now I really have to start doing things. Like I started to miss doing things.
That's like me last week. Not to cut you off, but me last week, I had like a fluke of the schedule, had no meetings scheduled for anything, and I'm like, "This is great, this is amazing." And I was jello by Wednesday, and I like, this is not good.
Yeah, you start to. I always think of that idea: an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion. Right. So
Yep.
I was at rest for a week and a half, to the point where I was saying to my fiance, like, I'm so sorry that I haven't taken the garbage out or done the laundry or cleaned or anything. And he was like, no, you needed the rest. And I was like, I know, but I've literally not left this couch for like 5 days. But I am generally so much more of a happier, healthier, productive person when I don't have 50,000 other voices in my head screaming at me about how terrible everything is.
Right.
You know, like, yes, I need to be aware of when things are not great. Yes. And I am still very aware, because the nice thing about Instagram is that you can still get those updates.
Right.
That's the other thing. I follow like news organizations, and it's really helped me compartmentalize my reaction with what's real, you know?
Yeah.
So like, for example, I was working my way off of Twitter when the Roe v. Wade decision came out last year. And I was upset. I was angry. I was all of those things. But I was like, I am not going to go on Twitter, because all it's going to say to me is like, this is it. It's over, you know, all these doom and gloom sort of things. And I needed to feel sad and angry, but I didn't want to feel despairing. And I talked to friends. I like figured out my thought process. I got together with a friend the next day. We hung out. We had a really good time. And I was able to process and get back to work. And that would not have happened. And that hasn't happened in other scenarios where I've been online and I've seen just this constant flood of everybody's initial reactions. That's not helpful for me. I just immediately go into like well, we're all screwed. And that's that my brain doesn't do very well with those kinds of scenarios. So that it's just helped me get out of that. Not to say that I don't still have moments like that, because I 100% do, but it's less of, when I deep dive now, it's like here. Whereas when I was on Twitter, it was like in the floor, you know?
Right.
But it also made me really process my emotions a lot more, instead of just getting angry or like anxious. Now I just cry, and that's fun.
There's no good transition from that one.
I cry so much, Brian.
I'm thinking of the Simpsons line that I drop to my daughter all the time. You cry when you do long division and there's a remainder left over. So you mentioned you're not pivot, and I know that All Daughters Rise was supposed to be the first start of a series, and now you had told me, we had talked offline about this, that it was taking a break from it. So what's the future of that series, and tell us a little bit about the stuff you're working on, the other stuff you're working on.
So, I have some of the sequel written. It's going to be 2 books. All Daughters Rise, and then this next one. Hopefully I'll wrap it up in 2 books. And I have the name for the sequel. It's All Daughters Die. It's going to be real upbeat. Fun for the whole family. No, I've categorized the sequel. I've talked to people about it. If All Daughters Rise was about dealing with your anxiety and dealing with pressure, and dealing with like the feeling like the world's caving in, All Daughters Die is about depression and not nihilism, but hopelessness. You know, spoiler alert for All Daughters Rise. If you have not read the book All Daughters Rise, please stop listening. But at the end of All Daughters Rise, Sabrine loses her mother. And I made it ambiguous, because there's that little bit at the end. that,
Mhm.
you know, I made it ambiguous. So we may see her back. But at this moment, all Sabrina knows is that she lost her mother in a way that isn't really, there's no closure for it. They didn't even have a body to bury, right? So it is her, and also she's now set up with Laura, like they're giving this relationship a shot. How do you reconcile those two things? How do you reconcile the grief of losing someone like that and trying to be with someone who you're already not really trusting of? Like you still, like they've apologized, fine, but is it? So dealing with the trust issues, dealing with how to kind of reconcile those things. So those are all things that I've been working on. But then after my Nana passed away, I didn't want to write a book about grief, because I was living it, but so I'm gonna eventually go back to it. So I don't really have a timeline on it, but after my Nana died, I really was pivoting towards reading really light, funny, dumb rom-com books. And I've always secretly wanted to write a rom-com. And I love rom-coms. I think chick lit and like women's lit gets a bad rap all the time. It doesn't get respected. I think there's a lot of skill and a lot of art to writing a really good rom-com, or like look at Bridgerton. Bridgerton's huge. Women, well, not even women, men, non-binary people, everybody needs love stories with happy endings. Everybody. And there's a reason why these tropes are so popular, because they work. You can say, oh, there was only one bed, or oh, they were roommates. Oh, that's so stupid. But then you read that book and you're like, there was only one bed, like
yeah,
you get into it. And I don't know, maybe because I'm getting married this year, but I just want to write like silly, like love stories and where characters are
novel concept.
I know. And it's so funny because I'm seeing all these recs for like the authors that I follow, and they're writing like really dark, like all like the fantasy novels right now are like, she was abducted by a Fey king and she has to kill him, but also he's hot, like, and so I wanted to do something like that. So I've told some people about what this is going to be, what I'm working on, but I haven't really said anything online really. So you get like the inside tea.
Yes, breaking story.
I know. So me and my sister have consistently for our entire lives been obsessed with The Sound of Music. That story is just amazing. I love the idea, and it's very rom-com-y. Girl starts babysitting for a group of kids, ends up falling in love with the dad, all of that. So this was last summer. I think it was right after I was watching, bringing back Bridgerton. I was watching Bridgerton, and one of the lead guys, not Reggae John Page, the other guy, Jonathan Bailey, who plays the Viscount. And he is a British actor who has done musical theater. And I was listening to him saying, and he was doing an interview, and I just kind of looked at him and I went, he'd make a good Captain Von Trapp one of these, like someday. Maybe give him a couple more years. Maybe once he hits 40, he'll be a good Captain Von Trapp. And then I went, they should do a revival of it, and they should cast him. And then I thought, I should do something with that. And I had this idea percolating in my head about doing a modern Sound of Music, because modern adaptations of classic works are always going to be a thing because of IP and all that. So I had that. Then I went down to the shore with my family last summer, and there's been this for years, literally for years. I have been wanting to do some sort of rom-com-y beach book about the beach. Always. Because I read those kinds of books at the beach all the time. And I was just like, I need to do something, because like there's just so much here. And we go down to a town in New Jersey that is you think Jersey Shore and you think, like Seaside Heights, but this is more like further down. And It
Kind of
doesn't,
closer to the Maryland shore than okay.
it's closer to Delaware. Yeah.
Oh, Delaware.
It's yeah, so it's like 20 minutes up from Cape May. Like
Okay, yeah.
it's far, far down. And it's an enclave that it has a reputation for being kind of bougie, but it's just very quaint and pretty and quiet. And I was like, oh man, like I know there's lots of, books about Jersey Shore and stuff like that, but like, what about this? Like, what about this kind of thing? And I don't know when it hit me to smash those two together, but I remember thinking au pair, Jersey Shore, summer job, au pair, Jersey Shore, Sound of Music adaptation. And I just went, oh, I got to do that. And so I didn't even write for a couple of months. I just was stewing this idea over and over in my head and thinking, okay, well, if this is how it's going to work, I don't want to bring obviously, because the whole thing with Sound of Music is that this love story is happening and then the Anschluss happens, right? So I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't want to do any like big political thing. But I've figured out a way to work in some modern day politics into it without it turning into this big thing, because I just want to keep it simple. There's going to be some comment in there about the recent huge rise in anti-trans legislation. I'm going to be commenting on, teachers and burnout, because the whole idea is the lead is a teacher, and this is not like, reminiscent of my experience at all, but like this is a teacher that gets rejected from a summer fellowship and gets basically told by your admin, you have been like working year round for like 5-10 years. I'm making you take a break. Like she's burning herself out. So she goes, well, no, I can't take a break. I have to do something. And she finds a job listing for an au pair at the Jersey Shore. And she goes, oh, I've been to parts of the Jersey Shore. I'll do that. And then she falls in love with the dad. So I also made all of them Italian because, that's fun.
Naturally.
And so yeah, that's my thing that I'm working on right now. And I actually have an idea for a book after that will tie into that in some way, but that one's going to be centered around the Connecticut shoreline, because that's another place that I'm really familiar with. And there's a way that those two are connected. And I'm thinking that book is going to be set around Christmas. So because I read like 30 Christmas themed rom-coms this year, or like back like through December, because that was the other thing. I have so much more time to read now.
Right.
Like that's what I do now. I just read. So I was just like burning through these rom-coms, and some of them were so bad, but it was awesome. And I read mainly independently published books.
Oh, neat.
And yeah, some of them there were a couple of DNFs in there, but there were some that were fantastic. And I was like, why don't you have an agent? But then but at the same time, like, you don't need one.
Right.
And it was just so cool. So yeah, those are the two things that I'm working on right now. Specifically the first one. And I will say, do you know the author Kat Sebastian and I have become friends?
Okay.
She's fantastic. Anytime I can plug her work, it's great. She writes a lot of queer Regency books that also have a lot of political undertones. They're amazing. And I'm also Instagram online friends with another author, Alysa, who also writes period pieces. She's most famous for her Magic in Manhattan series.
Okay.
And I love her books because she has an Italian as one of her leads, and it is not a stereotype. Like it's 1920s and it's an Italian kid, and it's not a stereotype. And I remember reaching out to her and saying, thank you for not just leaning into all that stupid stuff. And we became friendly. I've ran this idea past both of them, and Kat's response was just yes, 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 yes. So I got Kat Sebastian's approval.
Right.
I'm fine. So
nice.
That should just be my like calling card when I eventually publish it. I'm like, Kat Sebastian liked it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, all right. So this will be the 7th time I've asked you this, and you read a
Oh
lot. So this
my.
should be easy. Best thing you've read lately. Go.
Okay, I need to look because it I'm like in the middle of the push for school right now. So I'm reading stuff for school, but oh, wait. No, I know exactly what I'm gonna say. I'm just looking at my Goodreads read thing.
Mhm.
It's just all trash. It's great. Um, like I don't know if you can see, but it's just rom-coms. It's just
Hey, no judgment. My wife has been doing that for most of the past year, ever since Roe v. Wade. She's like, I just want to read
literally that's it though. Look
rom-coms.
at this.
That's it. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think she's read half of these books. Oh yeah.
Yep.
These I see a
And
lot of
now and
familiar
then you
books.
get to the ones that are all Christmas themed.
Yep.
It's tis the season for revenge. Like, oh, it's great.
My wife is currently reading, what is it? The Honey Don't List?
I
The
heard
Honey
of
Don't List.
that.
It's a terrible title, but apparently pretty good. Anyway.
All right. Oh, that's awesome. So the last book I read is a short story. And it's Stephen King's The Jaunt.
Okay.
It'll fuck you up. I'm sorry, Vance. Uh, I got a recommendation from I was listening to a podcast, Dead Meat, and they do horror movies and stuff. And they were talking about, I think they were talking about Stephen King, and they were talking about favorite books by different authors and things. And the girl on it, Chelsea, said her favorite short story by Stephen King is The Jaunt. And I was like, I've never heard of it. And I don't read a lot of Stephen. I mean, Stephen King writes a ton of short stories, and obviously some short stories have been adapted into incredible movies. But I'd never heard of The Jaunt. The Jaunt is, I'm going to try to be non-spoilery. The Jaunt is about sometime in the future, there is now a technology where we can teleport people from Earth to another colony in space. But the catch is you need to be asleep while you're doing it. And if you're not asleep, not good.
Things happen. Things happen.
Yeah, it gets you. And I mean, and it's funny because I knew I'd like read a summary of it that was very spoilery. So I knew what was going to happen before I listened to it, before I watched, not before I watched it, before I read it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, oh my God. Like, it's just I am so jealous of people that can do short stories and get everything they need. And this is a pretty short one. It's like 3 pages. And it gets everything it needs to get across, and it never feels expository. It is just, it all feels natural. And then the end just slaps you across the face. So that's the last short story that I read. And then the last book that I read is a book called Hail Mary by Candy Steiner.
Okay.
And a running back and a tattoo artist, they hate each other, but then they have to live together because of a situation with the girl's plumbing. And there's this whole thing that happened years ago that made the girl hate him. But then it turns out that it wasn't true. And then they love each other.
Right. As you do.
Yeah. I mean, and it's one of these.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh,
you know,
he does not look like a very good running back, is all I'm going to say. So I'm going to recommend. I got one for you while you continue through your collection. It's not the kind of books you've been reading, but I can highly recommend.
I mean, I should be reading books like that.
It's I have some questions for you by Rebecca Mackay.
Oh, yeah.
It is outstanding. So the basic premise is woman who is a professor / podcaster goes back to her boarding school. There's kind of like a serial type murder that had happened, and like so there's a kind of reckoning with the past, and there's Me Too stuff, and it's brilliant, and it's really good.
People.
She does, yeah. It don't want to give away too much, but it kind of like works. It becomes that, and it's one of those books that like 2/3 of the way, I won't say there's a twist, but there's a plot development, and then after that it's like the momentum, like it's one of those books that's just going downhill and you can't stop, and it just really picks up. And that was awesome. So I read like the last third of it in like 3 hours. It was so,
that is how I felt. Honestly, that's kind of how I felt about The Jaunt, where it almost like it was this feeling of once you start kind of realizing what he's setting up, but there's no way off. You just, because you're so close to the end, it's just, well, I got to keep going. Cause if I don't, you can't stop. It's compulsive. No, I love Rebecca Makkai. I really, I'm looking through this and, some of these, I read A Very Grumpy Christmas.
A Very Grumpy Christmas. All right.
It was good. These were all great. But yeah, there's a lot in my to read or want to read that are pretty, that are highbrow. But yeah, although
you do.
For work, the thing that I most recently read for work is, I'm wrapping up teaching the Crucible right now.
Oh, nice. That's fun. Yeah.
One of my favorites. Always pisses off my kids because of just how awful everyone is.
Right.
So that's been the thing that's been consuming my brain for the last 2-3 weeks is that play, but it's amazing. So
it is absolutely. All right. Well, as always, this was fun. Can't wait for number 8 when the rom-com / All Daughters Die / whatever's next comes out.
Yeah, in 2026.
I mean, well, I'm not going anywhere, so we'll do this.
Thank you, Brian. This is always so fun. I had such a blast.
Thanks for listening to The Other 51. Show notes for this and all of our episodes can be found at sportsmediaguide.com by clicking on the Other 51 tab. If you like the show, please consider giving it a rating and a review, either at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help people find the show. Our theme music is by Ellie Moritz.